Old games fucking suck.
I got down on the floor for this.
The graphics are terrible, you have to read a bunch of shit, and they don't even get bug fixes. Every gamer boy and gamer girl across the globe knows that the newer a game is, the better it is, because people in the 90s were dumb old dinosaurs who couldn't make any good entertainment, and all the things that make a game fun like graphics and 4K resolutions and microtransactions didn't exist yet anyways. We have a fascinating compulsion to automatically label anything old as bad, and things once fresh do rapidly become old. I sadly saw someone surprise something so sonically successful as Atom Heart Mother was over 50. The tolerance for what is considered too old to be good varies by medium, and none are stricter than the rules around video games. Where music, film and literature from the 20th century and earlier is still widely enjoyed today, playing a video game from even the 90s is considered akin to crawling into an old dusty tomb and playing Pac-Man on the Ark of the Covenant. Seemingly, the only valid reason for anyone to partake of a game from the past is to vainly reject their inescapable mortality by nostalgically grasping at their long-gone youth. And while I would agree that games have become more user-friendly, to disregard many great works of entertainment based on visuals or the idea that people in the past were clueless is laughable. All this poncy waffling to say the imminent phrase, Castlevania Symphony of the Night is the finest 2D game I've played, and Aria of Sorrow fucking rocks too. This statement does not come from nostalgia, or any kind of concessions as to the design sensibilities or hardware limitations of the time, but from the cold hard fact that they wholly enraptured me. They aren't just the best games for their already heavy hitting systems, but one of the best experiences you can give yourself in this short and precious life. Also, they have great voice acting.
What is a man? A miserable little pile of secrets!
To explain why I love them above other pinnacles of their genre, let's talk about weapons. Swords and their pointy brethren are totally badass, but I've always had a problem with them in games. Too often, action games are choiceless and button mashy, and RPGs have no tactile feedback at all. You aren't able to make any meaningful decisions, and so the whole business becomes flat and lifeless. I fell so deeply in love with Demons' Souls because of its dedication to incorporating a variety of weapons in a way where each weighty swing was filled with consideration. Unaware Symphony of the Night had already done it so stylishly more than 12 years earlier, with Aria of Sorrow taking it even further. In the Castlevania games, each weapon has a unique personality, and everyone has their favourite to suit their style. A strong weapon with a slow sweep, or a rapid dagger with little range, or a gun, each is a valid option. This variety combines with the insane number of hallmark Castlevania enemies, all possessing their individual and frequently erratic movement patterns and the ability to jump and crouch attack, to create a deeply indulgent skill-based combat system centered around freedom of expression and testing timing, spacing and practice. It is the most beautiful portal into that oh-so-elusive world of pure imagination which nurtures player experimentation and allows dreams to come true. The world where each swing is a perfect expression of player intent. Intentional or not, the ability to reset attack animation cooldowns by touching the floor in Aria of Sorrow is the type of mechanic you could make a whole game around. It skyrockets the skill ceiling in a deceptively simple way. The increased damage output is directly tied to skill level, but the skill floor is relatively low, and so average players like myself are rewarded with a handsome DPS boost just for trying, whilst being ever encouraged to reach the lofty heights above. So too, every player on the spectrum of skill feels fairly compensated for their efforts, and each minor improvement is a genuinely worthwhile endeavour. Just to show how fucking batshit you can theoretically go on this thing, to gaze upon the face of God, here's some footage of the game using turbo buttons. More succinctly, easy to learn, hard to master. These compelling foundations blow 90% of games releasing even today out of the water, and that's without even mentioning damage types, dual wielding, throwable weapons, the 100 different souls in Aria, or the fighting game special move spells and unique weapon attacks in Symphony, which are left for the player to find themselves. Talking of finding stuff for yourself, The exploration and map design in these games is excellent, and whilst missioning about in nooks and crannies is shared by all Metroidvanias, where they excel above their peers is in the sheer amount of weird little flourishes and game as a whole hidden behind impenetrable conditions. Symphony of the Night stands alongside the likes of Metal Gear Solid, Undertale or Dark Souls for containing a plethora of funny or interesting video gamey secrets and Easter eggs that I have a hard time believing any human being could just stumble across by themselves on a first playthrough. When I was younger, it seemed like if you interacted with the game in just the right way, anything was possible. Looking back through the lens of modern games, it seems painfully obvious that Mew wasn't hiding under a truck, and you couldn't make Lara Croft take her clothes off. But when I experienced the level of detail put into Symphony, those playground rumours don't seem so far-fetched after all. From a lullaby in a chair, to a weird secret elevator, to being able to play the entire game as a different character, it's sardine dense with the type of secrets that most AAA game designers today would have to explain up front in an unskippable cutscene, accompanied by an oversized quest marker, because they can't help but treat players like helpless little puppies. More likely, they wouldn't exist at all. Equipping 2 specific rings acquired at opposite ends of the castle in a specific room to get a pair of glasses to wear specifically during the final boss fight to unlock literally the second half of the game is a move that blows my mind to this day, and I would expect nothing less from a man who wrote an arcane dating sim where the true ending is so hard to attain Konami ended up suing a company selling hacked memory cards. Symphony of the Night is the mysterious magical world that I've imagined games to be since I was young. It shows a level of passion, care, and above all respect for the intelligence and curiosity of the player that makes the connection between artist and audience so much stronger. Now to Julius Belmont. The bosses in Castlevania games are some of the best. Each one has a meticulously designed moveset, but I find that they're often either brute forceable or punishingly hard. I somehow stumbled through Death and Below after a few attempts, and Galamoth was so much bullshit that I just hated him. But Julius Belmont is one of the best bosses I've fought in any game full stop. He has a brutal but fair moveset that must be fully understood before you can have a chance of winning. His long animations have subtle differences, and his more extreme attacks come out faster than a Cobra strike. The mutualism of narrative meeting design, Julius is the ultimate vampire hunter, the culmination of the Belmont bloodline. You're fighting a tough-as-nails AI playing as you from every other Castlevania game, and I tell you it feels fucking scary being on the other side of the vampire killer. More than anything, fighting Julius reminded me of the very best boss fights from the Souls games, except it came out in 2003 on the Game Boy Advance. Video game music is something I don't bring up a lot, and that fact alone should highlight how spellbinding Symphony of the Night's soundtrack is. Eclectic is an understatement. Baroque jazz funk techno metal comes closer, but words are the imperfect net that the true experience falls through. Each unique track reflects the strange maze of individual yet interweaved areas of the castle, backing the exploration whilst making each area that much more memorable. It adds so much atmosphere to the already stunning visuals, with some areas inspiring vampire slaying patricide, and others scaring the shit out of me. It is one of 4 video game soundtracks that I've went out of my way to download, and I'm always getting its songs stuck in my head. I could sit here and analyse each track all day, but I could never do justice to the feeling of walking through the CD change corridor into a new area, and hearing one of these masterpieces start up for the first time. Basically, what I'm trying to say here is, well, that these are without a doubt the best 2D games I've ever played. They combine intricate action RPG gameplay and player choice with beautiful art direction, incredible atmosphere, and impeccable game design. Everything that inspired my devotion to the Souls games is contained within these titles, except somehow they are the blueprint. I mean, Aria even has a safe zone with a woman who takes care of you that updates as you progress through the game. I should be comparing everything to Castlevania. The sprite art and animation is as good as, if not better than games that get released today, and the design is so timelessly perfected that if they were released exactly as they are for the first time tomorrow, I can't help but believe they'd become classics all over again.
What do you here?
In one light, it's a complete rip-off of Metroid, and in the same light, like the importance of the first follower at a party, the name which used to scorn its mimicry is now the title of the genre. The exploration, platforming, and steady unlock of abilities which define Metroidvanias are all present, but Castlevania takes it in a direction that just so happens to perfectly align with everything I ever want from a game. Meaty and tactile tactical melee combat, with a deep vampire/real mythology based gothic horror atmosphere, player choice and build variety, full of secrets that don't take themselves too seriously, yet presents an engaging story with memorable characters. Also, you can change the colour of your cape and fly around as a bat. Could you really wish for anything more from a game? To me, a piece of art that endures decades, centuries, or even millennia doesn't do so without good reason. Much like Bram Stoker's novel that is its inspiration, Castlevania is a rock thrown into the lake of our collective consciousness, sending ripples of influence through its genre, medium, and our culture as a whole. Thank you to everyone that worked on these two wondrous games. Thank you to Julius Belmont for kicking my ass, and thank you for watching. Peace.